On this week's Brilliant Tidbit, I have selected 3 curious accounts of bizarre late-night encounters with faceless entities roaming the streets of Nashville, Tennessee. Hold on to your butts, because it's about to get weird. I'm Alan Brill. Welcome to Brilliant, a podcast from the mind of Brill. Warning, it gets dark in here. As humans, we communicate with each other primarily through spoken words, eye contact, and movement. We use our faces to relate many of our emotions to each other. So there is something very disturbing about encountering human-type entities that have no facial features, as witnesses in the following trio of stories can certainly attest to. Now, this first account occurred on a May night in 2018 in a suburb of Nashville, Tennessee. Gail had a bit of trouble sleeping at night, so often she would take walks in her neighborhood to burn off some excess energy and clear her head. She lived in a safe neighborhood and never felt threatened on her late night jaunts, and so one night when she saw somebody on the street walking towards her, she simply thought it was someone from the neighborhood who perhaps was having trouble sleeping that night just like she was. But as she got closer to the person, she realized that something was wrong. She reported to David Weatherly, quote, "I kept looking towards the guy and I realized that I had slowed way down. Then I stopped walking. I realized how quiet everything was. I was used to walking at night, and even though it was more quiet than during the day, there were always things you'd hear. Cats, night birds, and, people's televisions turned up too much. But there wasn't a sound when I saw the thing. Nothing." End quote. She surveyed the neighborhood and noticed that there didn't seem to be any activity in the houses. No flickering lights from TVs, no shadows moving behind curtains, nothing. Even though she wanted to turn around and head back to the safety of her house, she found that she couldn't budge. It was as if she was frozen in place. As the figure drew nearer to her, she noticed it was wearing an old suit. It was tall, she estimated at least 6 feet, and walked in what she described as a, quote, lanky manner. She said, quote, "I was hoping it would be someone I had at least seen in the neighborhood before, but, oh Lord, I don't think it was even a person. There's no face, nothing there. Like it was flesh and not any kind of Hollywood mask or anything, but there weren't any regular features." End quote. Gail clarified to Weatherly that the thing sort of had a mouth. Imagine an open mouth, but it's covered with a piece of pale flesh that's stretched over the opening. End quote. It walked by her without so much as breaking stride, and after a few minutes she found she could move again. She looked behind her to try to get a glimpse of this bizarre entity, but the street was empty. In a panic, Gail ran to a nearby house and pounded on the door. It was a neighbor that she knew, an older gentleman, and she simply told him that she had been scared by a, quote, creepy guy walking around the neighborhood. Her neighbor graciously escorted her back to her house. Gail told Weatherly, quote, "I don't walk around at night anymore. I still don't sleep much, but I just watch TV or something. I don't want to see that thing ever again." End quote. The next account was collected by Albert Rosales in a report by an anonymous man who had an encounter in Nashville that occurred on a summer night in 2013, and this was in Albert Rosales' humanoid encounter database. The man and his friend decided to take a walk around the block of a quiet Nashville suburb when everything fell deathly silent. The wind quit blowing and they heard no noise from insects or night birds. It was total silence. I'm going to break in here. Again, we noticed the Oz effect as we had with Gail's encounter, and we'll talk about the Oz effect when we get through. All right, back to the narrative. The pair saw a minivan parked in a driveway about halfway down the street. Its hood was up and 2 things were staring into the engine compartment. The reporting witness described it thusly, quote, "They were white, they had no faces. There was a soft glow coming off them as if they were reflecting a black light, but it seemed like there wasn't really a source for it. The white flowers in the yard had the same glow. The strange figures looked about normal height, 2 arms and 2 legs. They sort of jumped when we came into view like they were surprised. Then they half hid behind the van and we felt that we couldn't look at them no matter what." End quote. The reporting witness said it was the most frightened he had ever been in his life. They kept walking forward, trying to watch the creatures from the corners of their eyes. The bizarre figures would adjust their position so that they always had the van between them and the witnesses. The main witness stated that he got the impression that the beings were not used to hiding. When the two friends reached the end of the street, the sounds returned and they could once more feel the wind. When the main witness brought up what they had just experienced to his companion told him to shut up. He said they both had the impression that they weren't even supposed to talk of the strange white beings. Now, several years later, after the event, the witness brought the night's events up to his companion again, and here's what Rosales reported. Quote, 3 years later, the main witness finally spoke to his friend about what they had seen. His friend looked pretty freaked out and asked the main witness if he remembered them crossing the street in front of them, which the main witness did not. He told him it was right after he fell or lay down, and all of a sudden the main witness remembered that right before he saw them, he looked over and his friend was laying on the side of the road, stiff as a board, and not responding to anything the witness was saying. He was just blinking really hard. Eventually he got up and they just kept walking. Around this time his friend fell to the ground is when everything became quiet and eerie. The witness doesn't know how he could have forgotten that part. End quote. And our last report comes from a man named Kevin, and this happened in his Nashville neighborhood late one fall night in 2013. He had worked late and was arriving in his neighborhood at about 1 a.m. There's a man walking down the middle of the street in the same direction that Kevin was driving. He thought the man might have been drunk, so he slowed way down and got over as much as he could. As he was coasting past the man turned and looked down at him through the driver's side window. Kevin said, quote, he didn't have a face, just no dang face at all. The shape of the face was kind of there, but no features, just pasty skin, but no eyes and no mouth or nose. It was not a mask, I know that. It looked dead at me, but I don't know what it was, end quote. So, there we have it. 3 reports of faceless entities in Nashville. Each witness adamant that it was not simply people wearing masks. Now, 2 of these 3 reporting peoples experienced the Oz effect. Now, the Oz effect is a term coined by British paranormal investigator Jenny Randalls. And this is where a witness to a paranormal or UFO event feel isolated from the normal world, experiencing an eerie silence or a sense of being in a parallel or altered reality. So I think it's fair to ask if this is because 2 realities are overlapping. Perhaps they are experiencing an alternate reality. And maybe Nashville is an area where these 2 worlds share a border, a membrane. And these are beings from for lack of a better word, an alternate dimension. I'm using dimension wrong, but I think we all get the idea there. These creatures, they seem to possess the power to cause paralysis to the people who witness them. You know, and Gail seen it, she couldn't move, and there's the natural flight, fright, or freeze response. And I suppose it could have been the freeze response, but it didn't seem natural the way she described it. And the other guy, laying down in the road, unresponsive. I don't know what that is. That's wild though. So I don't know if these beings have the power to exert control over us to a certain extent. And really, these guys didn't do anything. The one Gail seen just walked past her. The second report, they kind of hid behind their minivan or tried to. They weren't antagonistic by any stretch of the imagination. And at the third report, the guy was just, walking down the road. The thing was just walking down the road, minding its own business. So they didn't really do anything antagonistic, but it is still disturbing to think that these faceless beings roam the street out there among us. I mean, their intentions are unknown and indeed inscrutable. We can't read any emotion on their faces. There's nothing, we can't tell anything about them. The thing that makes us human is totally missing on them. So, I mean, what are they? What do they want? And most importantly, do they mean us harm? I don't know. It's wild though. I would be terrified to see something with just a blank where its face should be. Like I said, that would be very disturbing. This is how we recognize each other and our intentions and our emotions are displayed on our faces. So without those, It's a total lack of humanity, kind of. But, hey, here's to you, faceless freaks. Long may you roam the streets of the Music City and add some mystery to our understanding of reality. For my source, I used the article Faceless in Nashville by David Weatherly and Backroads Lore Issue 2, Bizarre Encounters. These are fantastic. I think they put a fifth one out. I've got all four of them, and I haven't seen the fifth one come out. But yeah, Backroads Lore series, 4 issues, 4 volumes, however you want to look at it. Definitely worth checking out. I got mine off Amazon. So, hey, thanks for stopping by the Black Barn, hearing about the faceless entities roaming Nashville. It's a weird one. And hey, if you dug what you saw or what you listened to, please hit that like button. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing and, passing it on. See if we can get the show to grow a little bit. But either way, I'm going to be back next week with another bizarre encounter for you, or some kind of bizarre story about the strange reaches of our world. So be sure you come back. And hey, until then, keep it weird out there, y'all. Keep it weird.